Do you ever get the feeling that you're doing something wrong, or that you're scared to do something wrong? Well, this is the dark side of our ancestral karma. So we're going to dive into this today, and so if you're interested, then by all means, stick around. Yes, our ancestral karma does have a dark side. I don't really mean dark, like it's not dark, it's just the way that our ancestors were conditioned at the time and then passed that down to you. And in fact, you've been lied to, manipulated, and absolutely had. Not necessarily through any fault of anybody else, so leave the blame thing behind, because that won't serve you either. That will just create more karma, which is the thing that we're here to try and shed in a way, or at least bring aliveness to or awareness to. Now, before we dive into this video topic, I just want to introduce you to the free offerings that we have down below. There's a free breathing practice, a free introduction to Hatha Yoga, and there's also a free community, either on Facebook or Discord. The thing I really want to bring your attention to is for those that are committed and willing to change their life but don't really know what the steps are, because this journey is systematic and it's step by step by step. It's definitely not woo-woo. You do this, you look at this, then you do this, you look at this. And in time we're going to build up a real amazing toolkit and enough prana in the system to be able to dissolve away all of the BS or belief systems inside of us and head towards becoming a sannyas, although that will take years. Nonetheless, the application form for that is down below. So the dark side then to ancestral karma almost reminds me of, was it Star Trek, Star Wars? Who knows? I haven't watched either of them. I don't know why I bothered to comment on it, to be quite frank. What is happening inside of our system? Do you believe you're doing something wrong, or you're scared to do something wrong all of the time? This can freeze you in a paralysis of fear, and so you don't take that next step. But it's all egoic and it's fine. We're wanting to obviously become aware of that, at least in the first instance, maybe even later on see where it's come from. I'm going to show you where it's come from so that you can become aware of it inside of yourself. But don't use this as a tactic to start blaming your parents and that, because it's like that's a little bit insincere, because they were only doing the best that they could in that moment of their life. And yeah, they've given you this stuff so we can observe that and say, oh, this came from you, but we can take it cheerfully and go, okay, but now this is mine. I'm doing this now. And so if I don't want to pass it down to my children and continue that ancestral line, then I better fix up sharp, isn't it? Become aware of it and change it. That's part of the reason why I don't have kids, because I know I'll just absolutely screw them up, quite frankly, with my neuroses. And so, frankly, kids are not on the table for me, at least not yet. Nonetheless, if you've had children, don't judge yourself. All is well. And I'm sure you're a beautiful parent, and that's wonderful. We're not here to make you feel insecure. We just want you to have a look at this, right? And of course, this isn't just for parents, this is for everyone. Now, if you're scared of making the wrong decision, then you must believe something to be true. And what do we know about belief systems? Belief systems, BS. Belief systems are BS. That doesn't mean that they're not real. They're real inside of you, but they're not true for everyone. And so in this sense, the quality of them is malleable. They're changeable. What is a belief system really? It's just a thought that is continually thought over periods of time. It's a practiced vibration, if you want to say it in a different way. It's the thinking mind, which is what karma is anyway. Karma is action. Thought is action. Karma with those actions, though, has a consequence, doesn't it? We know this. This is just the way of life. Science has now gotten behind karma. Albert Einstein, was it? No, who was it? I don't know. One of them said that for every action, there is an equal and opposite consequence or reaction to that. But the yogis had it first, because this is ancient stuff just being brought forward to the modern day. Now, our ancestors' actions were relevant for the time, whether that be in thought or physical action. their actions were relevant and probably very much deeply linked to insecurity and control, and therefore they had to manipulate, or at least they believed that they had to manipulate the outside world to get what it is that they desired. We're now waking up out of that paradigm, aren't we? Because we recognize we don't have to manipulate anything to get what we desire. In fact, to get what we desire, we only have to desire it and get out of the bloody way of it. And we do that through sadhana, isn't it? And then things start happening pretty magically, pretty bloody quickly too, which is a wonderful ride and really fun. Nonetheless, we're not really doing this for manifestations. They're just a byproduct of what we're doing. Really, we're doing this for our own well-being, isn't it? And for our own freedom. If you believe and are worried that you're going to make a wrong decision or that you're doing something wrong, you are constantly living in fear. That is not freedom. And it probably doesn't feel very nice. I don't know why I said probably, because I know this in me. It doesn't feel nice. It is horrible. And whenever you act out of that, you're even more scared that you've done something wrong. But let me tell you, again, you've been lied to, you've been manipulated, and you've been had. See, our parents, or at least the ancestral karma or DNA that we're talking about here, was based in control. And what's happened is you've been manipulated through guilt. How does that look day to day to day? Well, it would look like our parents' conditioning or grandparents' conditioning, looking down upon us and judging our actions as wrong based upon that conditioning. Then that tells the child or the adult or whatever, the adolescent, doesn't really matter, but most of this starts in childhood, and that's why it's so ingrained in us and then becomes crystallized in adulthood inside of ourselves. But again, we can still change it. It's never too late for anybody. We're manipulated by that guilt, that when they say I've done something wrong, we believe, oh, I am wrong for doing this thing. And therefore guilt comes, isn't it? Also because, oh, I've let that person down. Well, what? Of course, we were children, you know, we didn't have the spiritual knowledge for this, and so it's absolutely fine, nothing went wrong. But it's like, we're not living for other people. There was this study done on lab rats, of course. It's always done on lab rats, isn't it? Great-grandfather rat, okay? He had a trauma done to him. Then the grandfather rat, the daddy rat, and then the baby rat were born in that lineage, in that ancestral line. No trauma was done to the grandfather, the daddy, or the child rat. However, their nervous systems still stored the energy from that trauma. There was still that trauma in them. And so we can see how important it might be then to become aware of this trauma, because it may not even be yours. Having said that, it is yours because it's in you. But of course, this is why sometimes people awaken without any trauma being done to them, because it's just in the system. You might look up your family line and go, oh yeah, you didn't have a very nice life. I can see that in me. Now we're here to break the chains of the dark side of the ancestral line, aren't we? Because that's what this important work is really about. We're breaking free. Reminds me of a High School Musical song that I wouldn't dare sing because it's much too high for me. So, if we are scared that we're going to do something wrong, the best antidote for this is to fail big. Isn't it? Our ancestors were way too scared to fail, and therefore anything that looked like it could fail in you, they made you wrong for. But the thing is, that primal urge that we have as a child, that urge for our energies to begin manifesting things into this life, was never wrong. It was yours. And because it was yours and you're part of the totality of divinity, you're also human, but that human aspect is divine in its essence, then, in a sense, it is your divine primal urge. See how divine and primal meet? You see? This is that merging, that marrying of the two worlds, divinity and human. Now, we are human, so we are going to make mistakes, and hopefully we are going to fail big, because then there goes that fear of doing things wrong. There drops away that identity of perfectionism that is really, really hurting you. Because it comes out in every aspect, like a little spider web of our lives, causing pain almost everywhere because of these absolutely unreasonable expectations I have for the way that I need to live, usually for another person, for their expectations too. And it's like, yeah, cool, fine. But also this expectation's in me, so it's mine. So I have to be radically honest with myself so I can claim that I'm doing this, then I can change it. Then I can even have the confidence and the courage to say, I don't need to get this right. And I'm never going to get it done because the essence of that which I am is eternal. So what's the problem? We're setting ourselves free. So there's a little bit of mindset training for you to, in a way, at least bring awareness to the negativity that was in that ancestral line, but that is now in you. So here's to your authentic life. Because as soon as we can clear through the BS, belief systems that have been passed down to our ancestors, our lives can get pretty darn amazing, pretty flipping fast. So, because it's a new year, why not endeavour to make the changes that your ancestors sadly couldn't in yourself? The buck stops with you. Here's to changing the world by changing you. Lots of love. Namaste.